Arches National Park is a popular park and for good reason. Nestled in the red rock of southern Utah, Arches gets over 1.4 million visitors a year. But unfortunately, some of those visitors never make it home. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everyone. My name is Elise, and I'm your host. And I hope that you all are having a good summer. I am pre recording this because as you listen, I will be in the backcountry on a backpacking trip. I hope that the weather is okay. The weather has been crazy, crazy here in Utah. We've had a lot of forest fires, and the air quality was really bad. And so I'm just hoping, I'm pre-recording this now, but I'm just hoping that the air quality and the weather cooperates because I really have a lot of backpacking to do this summer. So let's jump into our deaths of arches today. So last month I did deaths of Acadia, and this month deaths of arches. So let's talk a little bit about Arches National Park. This is located in eastern Utah, and it's adjacent to the Colorado River. I'm of course talking about Arches National Park, if you didn't know. So it's like right outside of Moab, Utah. The park contains more than 2,000 natural sandstone arches, including the well known Delicate Arch, which is on our license plates. And it actually, this national park constitutes the highest density of natural arches in the entire world. It also contains a variety of other unique geological resources and formations. It's about 76,000 acres and it's high desert, so it gets hot in the summer and very cold in the winter. The highest elevation of the park is 5,653 feet, or 1,720 meters at Elephant Butte, and the lowest elevation is 4,085 feet, or 1,245 meters at the Visitor Center. So if you've never been to Arches, the Visitor Center is located, kind of in this little like pocket sort of, and when you drive in, you immediately start an ascent. I mean, you start a very, very curvy, very steep road. It's totally safe, but you start going up, and then you're kind of on, this kind of higher mesa area. It's very, very pretty. Now, it's run by the National Park Service, of course, and the area, which was originally designated as a national monument on April 12th, 1929, before being redesignated as a national park on November 12th, 1971. It received more than 1.8 million visitors in 2021, but in recent years, there's been a little decline. And so in 2024, there was just 1.5 million visitors. So I don't know if that's because they did the reservation system or what. Maybe, the economics, who knows? I'm sure there's a reason, but I was surprised to read that actually the visitor numbers kind of went down. Not by a ton, but by a good amount. Now, there's a lot of recreation in this park. There's been a lot of climbing and base jumping. However, um, that's really banned in the parks now. So, climbing balanced rock or any named or unnamed arch in Arches National Park with an opening larger than 3 feet or zero point 0.9 meters is banned by park regulations. Climbing on other features in the park is allowed but regulated. In addition, slacklining and base jumping are banned park-wide. Now, have climbers and base jumpers done stuff here before? Yes, they have. Climbing, so it's really not it's really not like a good thing. Now, climbing on named arches within the park has been banned for a long time, but Dean Potter, he successfully free climbed Delicate Arch in May of 2006, so 20 years ago. They kind of reworded the law so that, there wasn't a loophole for climbers to climb, and they didn't want Dean Potter's actions to be like, "Oh, we can do this." So the park attorney suggested rewording how the law was, and they did that. So in response, the park revised its regulations later that month in May 2006, eventually imposing the current ban on arch climbing in 2014. Now, approved recreational activities include auto touring, hiking, bicycling, camping at the Devil's Garden campground, backpacking, canyoneering, rock climbing, with permits that you have to do for backpacking, canyoneering, and rock climbing. There are guided commercial tours and ranger programs also available. And what I will say about Arches is that it is beautiful. It's pretty accessible. And, like, my husband is physically disabled, and Arches is actually a pretty accessible park for a national park, right? You can see a lot just from the car, just from driving. And a lot of the easy trails that go to these arches are pretty flat and pretty easy. So it's very, very good in that way. It's not dog friendly at all. So that kind of sucks, but it's a very pretty park and you can see a lot just by driving. Now, astronomy is also popular in the park due to its dark skies, despite the increasing light pollution from towns such as Moab down kind of in the valley. And there's a lot to do outside of Arches. There's, um, like Corona Arch is a great hike, and it's outside of the park that you can bring your dog on, and so you can go see an arch, a really pretty one, with your dog, and yeah, it's a really nice park, and there's a lot to do outside of the park. Now, today, I will be reading some incident reports about fatalities, and these, again, not an exhaustive list, but ones that weren't due to like a motor vehicle accident or something of the sort. So, we're going to start on Monday, August 26, 1996. Lightning fatality. QF, a 22-year-old student from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was struck by lightning on the Delicate Arch Trail during the passage of a particularly active thunderstorm on the evening of Saturday, August 24th. QF was hiking with his brother and two companions when he was struck. A physician, a third-year medical student, and a paramedic and a critical care unit nurse were all in close proximity at the time of this incident, and they began CPR immediately. A cell phone call was made to the county sheriff's office, then in turn notified the park. A park team, which included a paramedic and an EMT and members of a local ambulance company, they hiked in and provided advanced life support, restoring QF's pulse. He was flown to a hospital in Grand Junction, Colorado, where he eventually succumbed from complicating internal trauma and burns. Two lightning caused fires also occurred during the storm's passage. The first was extinguished by visitors in the campground who employed a large squirt guns and kitchen tools to suppress the fire. The second caused minor burns to a visitor who attempted to put it out. So it's really sad because even though that 22-year-old, I mean, that's, like, kind of, like, miraculous that you have a physician, a medical student, a paramedic, and critical care unit nurse. They got his pulse back, but unfortunately, he had too much internal damage and burns that he died at the hospital. It's just really, really sad, and it's a reminder that when the weather might be bad, even if it's not storming or actively raining or thundering, lightning can happen at any given moment. In fact, I have a second cousin who was walking around a school track with his grandpa, and it was cloudy and it was thundering a little bit, but it wasn't actively raining or lightning, and he was struck dead by lightning. And so a lot of people don't realize it, but even though the storm might not be directly on top of you or raining or, lightning, it can just happen. So when you recreate outside, storms are a huge, huge danger, as I'm sure you know. Thursday, February 27th, 1997, Falling fatality. On February 26th, LM of Vail, Colorado, was hiking off trail with a friend in rough, steep terrain in the Elephant Butte area when he slipped and fell at least 50 feet, suffering severe traumatic injuries upon striking the ground. Responding rangers and local ambulance personnel provided life support, but LM died about 2.5 hours later during a high angle nighttime scree evacuation. So it's just a lot of people fall at arches and they die, and it's really, really sad, and part of the reason, like, this almost happened to me, I was hiking in the wrong conditions and wasn't being careful, and I almost fell off a cliff and died, and so even if it's dry or, because when I was hiking and that happened, the conditions were wet and snowy. However, sandstone can be really slick even when it's dry, and so falling fatalities happen all the time at arches. May 12th, 1998, another falling fatality. On May 6th, 23-year-old AM was on a group hike in the Delicate Arch area when other members of the group noted that he was missing. A search was begun immediately, and he was spotted at the base of a 150-foot cliff. The location was inaccessible, though, so members were unable to reach him. Rangers and the county short haul team responded via foot and helicopter and determined that AM had suffered fatal injuries in the fall. His body was removed from the location by a helicopter using a long line. The circumstances surrounding the fall are being investigated by rangers and county authorities. Tuesday, October 20th, 1998. Assist bicycle accident with fatality. On October 13th, KK 43 of Conifer, Colorado, fell more than 200 feet to his death in a mountain bike accident on BLM land immediately adjacent to the park. Seven rangers from Arches and Canyonlands joined over 30 search and rescue personnel in the recovery effort, which was complicated by nightfall, a high potential for rockfall, and the lack of a helicopter support. The operation lasted for 6 hours and included several vertical leader litter lowerings and a 600-foot belayed low-angle scree evacuation. About 6 months ago, another mountain biker fell to his death from the same location. Many of the rangers and county rescue personnel worked both incidents. Thursday, August 19th, 2004, homicide in park. The Grand County Sheriff's Office began receiving 911 calls reporting a traffic accident involving a fatality and burning car just inside the park around 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, August 10th. Responding emergency personnel from several agencies found a burning car in the middle of Moab Fault Overlook pullout. A man sitting in the driver's seat of the burning car, later identified as JRC 26 of Richwood, Texas. A pickup truck 40 feet down an embankment, other injured people, and a fatally injured woman, later identified as RR 34 of Seabrook, Texas. She was lying on the ground in the front of the burning car. First responders performed CPR on RR, but she was pronounced dead at the scene. JRC was able to exit from the car before it became totally engulfed in flames and was treated for minor injuries. The family of three who were in the pickup truck that went over the embankment, including a 1-year-old baby, escaped with minor injuries. Witnesses told investigating officers that they had seen RR and JRC arguing and fighting just prior to the vehicle accident, and JRC had run over RR immediately before striking the pickup truck and sending it and its occupants over the edge. JRC was treated for his injuries at a local hospital, then taken into custody. Arraignment in state district court occurred on Tuesday. Charges brought against JRC by the Grand County attorney included 1 count of criminal homicide, 3 counts of attempted homicide, 1 count of felony DUI, 2 counts of assault domestic violence, 1 count of aggravated assault, and several traffic violations. Now, that I cannot even imagine being that family whose pickup truck that man hit, running over his girlfriend. I'm assuming girlfriend or wife. I don't know. That is absolutely crazy, and then the car burst into flames. That's horrible, and I just, like, it's so crazy to me that things like this happen in national parks. Like, this is something I could imagine happening in a big city or something, but in a national park is crazy. Tuesday, April 5th, 2005, falling fatality. On Sunday, March 27th, an 18-year-old man from Orem, Utah, fell to his death near the boat ramp area along the Colorado River. The fatality was within the legislated boundary of Arches National Park, but occurred in a section of land that is patent to the Grand County for recreational purposes. The fall was not witnessed, but evidence suggests that he was scrambling up a cliff when he fell approximately 15 to 20 feet, then tumbled another 15 to 20 feet. He sustained massive facial and head trauma in the fall. Although he had companions with him that day, they'd left the area. His body was found late in the afternoon, but it's believed he fell earlier in the day. The Grand County Sheriff's Office is taking the lead in the investigation. That one seems a little suspicious to me, but I'm also super paranoid. Then we have Wednesday, December 4th, 2019. Two killed, one injured in a fall at Delicate Arch. A man and a woman died last Friday morning when they fell into the bowl area near Delicate Arch. A third younger man also fell and was injured. Rangers were notified of the fall around 7:30 a.m. The area was closed while an investigation was conducted, then reopened later that afternoon. It's unclear if weather played a role in the accident, although it had been raining and snowing in the park. Those conditions can make the trail leading to the arch slippery. The deceased were identified as a 65-year-old man and a 60-year-old female, and a 30-year-old man was injured. All were from California and appear to be related. So what I got from this is that this was a family, a mom, a dad, and a son, and the two older adults who I'm assuming were the parents fell and died, and then their son also fell but survived, and that is literally so, so sad. It's also curious to me that I didn't find any fatalities reported between 2005 and 2019, but again, I'm just going with the information I have available to me at this time. Now, of course, there were a lot of close calls between those years or severe accidents that resulted in bodily injury, but no deaths apparently from the records. So I find that interesting. A lot of airlifting outs, lost hikers, injured hikers, things like that, assaults on rangers, but no deaths reported from between 2005 and 2019. Okay, this next one's kind of a doozy, so try and stay with me here. This one happened Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020, and the title is Family of Visitor Killed by Swinging Gate Suing National Park Service. All right, so this is what happened. So, the family of a women's rights activist from Uganda has filed a more than $270 million wrongful death and personal injury claim against the National Park Service after she was decapitated by an unsecured park gate. Yes, this really happened in Arches. Newlyweds EEN 25 and LLM 26 were driving to get an ice cream during a camping trip last June 13th, so 2019, when a metal gate blew closed in strong winds and sliced through the side of their car, quote, like a hot knife through butter, according to the administrative claim, which was filed in October. The gate narrowly missed LM, who was originally from Paris but now lives in Denver. Attorney Deborah Chang, who filed the claim on behalf of LM as well as EN's parents, wrote that the National Park Service has for years used entrance and exit gates made of metal poles with spear like sharp ends, and they were known to swing into roadways when left unsecured. Employees knew or should have known that the winds strong enough to carve stone are certainly strong enough to blow an understrained metal pipe gate into the path of an oncoming vehicle. This is from the attorney. Um, the National Park Service and Arches National Park are accused of not securing the gate, which was installed to swing in the wrong direction and was being held open by a flimsy metal tab that was worn down and rounded, according to the claim. So, unfortunately, they were on their honeymoon and a gate swings open or closed, I don't know which one closed, and decapitated her in their car. And that is so, 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 so sad to me. It's really, really sad. So I saw that on here and I was like, I can't not talk about this because you really don't know what could happen when you're traveling. You really don't know. October 5th, 2022, hiker found deceased on October 1st. National Park staff found an individual's body in the Devil's Garden area. Personnel from the National Park Service and Grand County recovered the individual's body and took them to the Utah Office of Medical Examiner for identification and to determine cause of death. So, next one, March 8th, 2023. Arches National Park hiker fatality. On February 24th, a 71-year-old visitor collapsed while hiking with family. Rescuers from Classic Air Medical, the National Park Service, and Bureau of Land Management and Grand County, Utah responded. Rescuers attempted to resuscitate the individual, but they were unsuccessful. The incident is under investigation by the National Park Service in Grand County. Oh, and I want to say that that visitor that was killed by the swinging gate at Arches, they did win or, they settled, not for 270 million. I think it was like $10 million. I did read that later on, but I didn't include that because it is just like a follow-up. But yes, the family did receive a payout from the National Park Service due to that negligible death. March 22nd, 2023. On March 12th, a 56-year-old went into cardiac arrest on the Devil's Garden Trail. CPR was performed by others on the scene. Personnel from Grand County Sheriff's Department, Grand County EMS, and Classic Air Medical also responded. The individual was unable to be resuscitated and was pronounced deceased at the scene. May 24th, 2023. On May 15th, rangers were alerted to a report of CPR in progress on a 73-year-old at Devil's Garden Campground. Personnel from the National Park Service, Grand County Sheriff's Department, and Grand County EMS responded. Resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful and the individual was pronounced deceased at the scene. June 7th, 2023, hiker fatality. On May 25th, a 69-year-old had a medical emergency on the Primitive Loop section of the Devil's Garden Trail. This is like almost 9 miles. CPR was administered but unsuccessful, and the individual was pronounced deceased at the scene. Um, as you can tell, these incident reports get shorter and less detailed as more recently. Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, hiker fatality. A 66-year-old was reported overdue while traveling in the park. Their car was found in the Sand Dune Arch Trail parking lot. National Park staff began a search in the area and found the individual deceased in an off-trail location near the trailhead. An investigation by the National Park Service and Grand County Sheriff's Office is ongoing. I'm assuming heart attack or something, but it could have been foul play. I don't know. August 23rd, 2023, follow up on previously reported incident. Further details have been released about the 66-year-old who was found dead in the area of Sand Dunes Arch parking lot. The individual was found 2.5 miles from the parking lot off trail. They likely went on a longer hike that morning and perished on a second, shorter hike that afternoon. Their water bottle was empty. They were taking a medication that leads to dehydration, and temperatures were over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. An official cause of death has not been determined, but heat and altitude are considered relevant factors. So that was a follow up. Probably not foul play. However, it's very interesting to me, honestly. And the Sand Dune Arch parking lot is not very big, but it goes I think it's like point 0.2 or point 0.6 mile hike. It goes into this like rock formation, like you're sheltered by rocks, to this little tiny arch. And it's really pretty. And a lot of people stop there. It's popular. It's really pretty. It's really easy. And several weird things have happened in that parking lot or surrounding that area. September 4th, 2024, hiker fatality. On August 20th, a 58-year-old became unresponsive on the Delicate Arch Trail. CPR was started by others who were present on scene, and staff from the National Park Service, Grand County Sheriff's Department, Grand County EMS, and Classic Air Medical responded to the scene. Resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful, and the individual was pronounced dead at the scene. The incident is under investigation by the Grand County Sheriff's Office and National Park Service. October 16th, 2024, hiker fall fatality. On October 8th, a 68-year-old was near the Black Arch Overlook on the Devil's Garden Trail when they fell about 30 feet. Other visitors began CPR, and staff from the National Park Service, Grand County Sheriff's Office and EMS, Classic Air Medical, and the Utah Department of Public Safety, they all responded to this incident. The individual was pronounced deceased at the scene. The incident is under investigation. Lots of falling fatalities in arches. May 14th, 2025, hiker fatality. Again, on May 6th, a 77-year-old took a fall while hiking on the Windows Loop Trail. Bystanders called for emergency response and initiated CPR. Personnel from the National Park Service, Grand County Sheriff's Office, EMS, and Classic Air Medical responded to the scene. Resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful and the individual was pronounced deceased at the scene. A lot of falls, and most of them from older individuals. Um, I I'm scared of heights, and most of these places, like the Windows Loop Trail, is not, like, steep or anything, but there are stairs and uneven terrain. So, it's really, really sad. Arches has a lot of death associated with it. Um Delicate Arch Trail, I've done it. It's not hard by any means. However, it can be steep, and I was worried about falling on that trail. I want to do Devil's Garden Trail so bad, but there's a primitive part of it, and I've read and heard things online. It is kind of sketchy. And last summer when I went to Arches, I was in the pool at the cabin that I was staying in, and there was this man and his daughter, and we just started talking, and he had told me that him and his daughter did that trail, the Devil's Garden Trail. It's pretty popular, it's pretty strenuous, so not a lot of people do it except for experienced individuals. And he said that as they were coming off of the trail, and they started super, super early in the morning because it was June, but as they were coming off of the trail, EMS, park rangers, started pulling up, lights flashing on, and I kept waiting to read about an incident that happened on that day because I knew what day, and he didn't know what happened, but he was just like, "Yeah, like, national park rangers and, EMS pulled up, and it was kinda crazy." So it could have been someone having a medical emergency at the campground or on the trail. I and he said search and rescue was there too, so I'm like, "Man, I don't know," but guess what? I keep checking, and I have literally not found anything that happened during that time that was reported, so it's just interesting that there are things that happen, and, they're not reported on. I don't know what qualifications need to be met to make it into the incident reports, but apparently there are some things that can be reported and some things that aren't. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I am so unmotivated in the summer because I just wanna spend all my time outside and not stuck at my desk, but I'm happy you guys are all here with me, enjoying listening. Thank you all so much for hiking pole information. I feel less alone now. So I hope you have a great week, and as always, recreate responsibly and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. You can also join us on Patreon for early and ad free content. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.